Good morning, everyone. Miss White here with today's whole school assembly, entitled Celebration and Positivity. This morning I'd like to share with you some good news stories and give some points of reflection, including why it's so important to keep positive. And as we go through, I'd like you to think about how you can apply the points raised to your life at the moment and in the future. And whilst we remind ourselves of our APA mission statement, I'd like to congratulate and say well done to a large number of you that have received positive points this week and have been included in our shout-outs. Well done and keep up the good work. The assembly this morning is relevant to all of our values, but particularly our third APA value, a desire to contribute to society in a positive way. And I haven't chosen a religious quote today, but a particular favourite of mine from Albert Schweitzer, something to think about as we continue with the assembly. And never forget that happiness never decreases by being shared. Today would have traditionally been a bank holiday, the May Day Monday bank holiday, but this year it's changed to Friday, to the 8th of May instead. Why, I hear you ask? Well, it's commemorating VE Day, marking the 75th anniversary of VE Day, the day when fighting against Nazi Germany came to an end in Europe in World War II. Victory in Europe Day, the day on which the Allied forces formally announced the surrender of Germany, which brought the Second World War to a close in Europe. Why is this significant? Well, it is a milestone that changed the course of history for the whole world. The celebrations commemorate the armed forces who lost their lives in battle. I have put two links here for you to have a look at some videos and some newsreel to learn a little bit more about the end of the war, VE Day, and the celebrations that took place. And as you will see from the video and the news clips, and from this slide, in 1945 celebrations took place all over the country, and in London large crowds gathered and danced in Trafalgar Square and outside Buckingham Palace as they waited for the royal family and Winston Churchill to wave at them from the balcony. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to have the big national celebrations that are planned for Friday due to the lockdown, but it is very important that we all remember. Lockdown means that there'll be no street parties, parades or concerts that were planned, but you can still take part in reflecting and remembering and doing things at home. You can take part in the 2-minute silence on Friday, which will happen at 11 o'clock. And you can also take part in the nation's toast to the heroes of World War II, which will take place at 3 o'clock. And at this time, we will all be saying, to those who gave so much, we thank you. The Queen will also be addressing the nation again, delivering a special television message to mark the occasion. And this will take place at 9 o'clock in the evening, at the moment that her father, King George VI, gave a radio address back in 1940. At the time, Winston Churchill said, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." And this, of course, can be applied to what's happening today as we thank so much the NHS. One of the men from the armed forces that Winston Churchill was referring to in his speech was this man. You may have heard of him from the news coverage this week and last week because he's become somewhat of a celebrity. This is Captain Tom when he was serving in the army in India and Burma. A few weeks ago, when he was 99 years of age, he pledged to walk 100 lengths of his garden on his walking frame to raise money for the NHS. To start with, he had a modest goal to raise just £1,000 for the NHS before his 100th birthday, which he actually celebrated last Thursday. He started with just this small idea because he wanted to give something back after receiving great care from the NHS after fracturing his hip. And now he has raised over £32 million for NHS charities, and it has become not only one of the most startling, successful fundraising stories of our time, but he is now the single biggest fundraiser in Just Giving history. Quite an amazing achievement. Please follow the link below to find out more about Captain Tom's story and his remarkable walk and raising so much money for charity. During this event, Captain Tom has also become famous for his inspirational quotes. This one, I think, is especially important for us to remember in this difficult time. For all those finding it difficult, the sun will shine on you again, and the clouds will go away. After finishing his laps, he had words of advice for the nation about coping with the lockdown and life in general. And as he said, you've all got to remember that we will get through it in the end. It will all be all right, he said. As he completed his 100th length of his garden, the Yorkshire 1st Battalion formed a garden honour for him in celebration. Captain Tom has been described as a perfect hero for our time, and he achieved his goal and actually massively exceeded it because he's such a positive person with a positive attitude about life. He tells us all that things will get better and the clouds will go away. I have put a link here where you can see more about his 100th birthday celebrations and how his positive attitude has played such an important part in his long and rewarding life. I think we can all say he is a man who shows real commitment, strong determination and effort, and is a man who shows a sense of duty to his country and absolute dignity. Just a few weeks ago, when the Queen made her speech to the country, she urged us all to adapt the same discipline and resolve that people had showed during World War II. Captain Tom, now an honorary colonel, is an excellent example of this. And although he said it 75 years ago, Winston Churchill's quote is so true of today as well. So many are so grateful and owe so much to the so few working tirelessly to help the situation, the workers of the NHS and the key workers. Someone else who has been inspirational in the writing of letters is Mia Lightfoot. This year 7 girl wrote to show her appreciation for the NHS workers, saving our country and looking after everyone. You are so brave, she said. You have been so amazing, helping and saving lives. One day we will all smile because of you. She also thanked the Queen for bringing the country together. I am sure that you have all been clapping on a Thursday evening at 8 o'clock to say thank you to our key workers, and I'm sure that on Friday you will think, reflect and say thank you for the sacrifices 75 years ago on VE Day. We are in difficult times, but these stories and examples show that the best of human nature can rise to the challenge, and it might seem a bit odd time to talk about being positive, but staying positive is the core ingredient in the recipe of successfully coping in a crisis. It's time for us to be proactive about creating small moments of happiness. Take time in moments, spend quality time with your loved ones and look for the good in others. There are a lot of good things happening in our changing world, and think, reflect, celebrate and be positive. Positivity is so good for all of us, as this slide shows. Keeping positive definitely makes you feel better and improves your self-esteem. It leads to better relationships and improves your coping skills. You find that you will have more energy to cope with other aspects of your day that are more difficult. And positive emotions certainly increase resilience and immunity. And it helps you think much more clearly. I'm going to leave you this morning with a few quotes that sum up the theme of the assembly, and I'm just going to give you a moment to read them. I would like you to come back to the assembly, reread it, reread the slides, look at the video links, and think about how you will do your best to keep a positive attitude. Reflect on what has been said, and hopefully you will join in the celebrations for the NHS on Thursday evenings and for VE Day on Friday. But please remember, keep safe, keep learning, keep positive, and keep well. Have a good week, everyone.